Welcome to BAM It with John, Michael, and Mari, covering all things business, accounting, marketing, management, and IT. The place where businesses and entrepreneurs find the forest through the trees.
Hello and welcome to BAM It. I'm John Michael Cletus with Peridot Consulting, and I'm here with Mari Peterson, who just put a mint in her mouth, so I get to kind of say whatever I want about her right now.
I can talk.
Oh, she can talk. Oh, okay. Well, I was trying to catch her flat-footed here. I'm here with Mari Peterson with Marketing Outpost, and we are today catching up on our second part on the series about marketing professionals. And we've got our friend Travis here with Dolo Digital.
Hello.
Hello. And we're going to be interviewing Travis today about digital marketing and everything that he does.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
And I'm laughing at Mari because she still has this mint in her mouth. And before we hit record today...
I can talk.
She can
sound like I've got marbles in my mouth.
Well, you got a mint in your mouth. And she's been kind of going on a tangent about TikTok marketing. Or what is it? TikTok.
If I have to say more than that, then you don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is.
He doesn't know what it is.
But I do know that Travis knows what it is. And so Travis is here to talk to us about digital marketing.
I'm here to talk to us about TikTok today. That's what we're going to do. We're going to dive deep.
Are you on TikTok?
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
You would be funny on TikTok. I don't know about you, John Michael.
So what is TikTok for those that are of my level and just don't know what it is?
Is this our interesting fact for the day?
Well, we don't. What's part two?
We don't have much interesting to say, so this will be our interesting fact.
This will be our interesting.
It's going to just go downhill from here,
we didn't want to talk about TikTok.
y'all.
I want to know, Travis, what do you do? How did you arrive at what you do?
Well, I found this social media platform called TikTok back in 16. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, we're going to switch off from TikTok. I do full service marketing with a company here in Asheville that I founded back in June of 2018. So we are only... 15 months old now.
He's a baby.
We're babies. But yeah, me and a business partner of mine, Josh Dawson, worked together in a marketing agency, and we were hired days after each other. And the minute we met each other, we just kind of hit it off. We knew that we were, just into similar things, had similar interests. And then after working together, we kind of realized that his skill sets really complemented my skill sets. And he's web design and graphic design, and I do account management and new business for this marketing agency that we work at. And then also really the big thing that really brought us together and empowered us was we were both really big thinkers and wanted to do more than what we were currently doing, and more than just, being freelancers together or just doing design or joining into the marketing industry. We wanted to build something bigger, especially with the way that we're seeing where marketing is taking itself right now. And I'm sure we're going to talk about that a little bit, as this is a podcast about the marketing industry. But yeah, that got us really excited. So we quit our jobs together. We reached out to a buddy who we had worked with in the past as well at a marketing agency and brought him on board. And the three of us started Dolo Digital together. The third one is Ryan Laffler. I wish they could be here today, but we're busy, so it's just me. This is what I do. I go and talk to people in there at the office working.
So you said you worked at a larger firm. Where was that at?
That was here in Asheville.
Was it here in Asheville? Mm-hmm. And then you
so
broke
no
out?
Names.
Well, we're not dropping names. I just didn't know if it was from another town or...
It was here in Asheville. I'm from Houston.
Okay.
Josh is from Asheville, actually. And then Ryan is from Greenville. And we all three met here in Asheville. I went to LSU. I graduated. I worked in some marketing back in Houston and in Baton Rouge when I was in school. But I interned up here one summer. I've always just come to Asheville since I was a kid. My family just kind of fell in love with this place. And we'd come for Christmas or we'd come during the summertime. And so I got an internship when I was in college, and then came up here after college. So I'm actually just a little baby. I'm about to be 26 years old. So I haven't been doing this for, I've been doing marketing I studied it in college, but post-college only 3 years now, 3.5, 4 years now.
What's the thing that you love about it the most?
About marketing? I really like the psychology behind it and the creativity behind the psychology of kind of just creating design and messaging that can reach people without them, knowing that they needed to be reached out for that. I think also the really negative stigma that advertising has right now in general, people hate ads. They're super invasive and annoying. And, I joined this industry because I saw how poorly executed advertising is right now, where it's all based on effectiveness and efficiency, efficiency, because of this, cost per click mentality of, getting these messages, getting these impressions in front of people without actually, trying to convince them of anything. It's just all about getting in front of them. So it's really changed the way that the creative has been built. And that's really inspired us to do something more. And it's something I really love about advertising, is this negative stigma that I want to get out of the way. We want to make good advertisement, good brands, stuff people can relate to.
Yeah, I guess maybe you're alluding to that, but I guess that would be sort of a stereotype of the marketing industry, that you're all advertisers, like Mad Men in the tall tower
Sure.
in the back, coming up with these catchy jingles and stuff.
Right.
If only we smoked and drank like they did then.
Well,
Kinda
at Dolo
miss that
Digital,
part of the
you can come
stereotype.
by. We do. We've got liquor. No, I'm just joking. We're not doing that.
Liquor cabinet, suit and tie.
Not till after hours.
So what would you say, I guess we've already asked that.
I would say, what would you say is a challenge? So you love what you do, but then what would be one of the challenges? I think you alluded to that a minute ago, the negative stereotype about advertisers, but what would you say is another challenge?
Well, the negative stereotype is part of that challenge, but I'd say the challenge isn't even the stereotype, is the effect. It's the cause that's the challenge. It's this getting past where advertising is really changing right now. And so we want to be, me personally, my goal is to be on the forefront of how that's changing. So we want to develop that change with the way that technology is moving so fast in marketing. It's opening the doors for completely new ways of advertising. I mean, when I got into this industry, I realized that's what made me realize that we could do this better, is because everyone is sitting there doing the same thing. And I don't mean to call out anyone in particular. Everyone has their ways, but there's a lot of just these traditional advertising methods that are still happening, where it's, just printing brochures and doing magazine ads and doing a billboard and these just or doing a TV commercial, these standard forms of advertising, when today it's really more about branding and reaching your audience in a positive light and getting into that cognitive map and creating these cognitive associations. So I love the psychology behind it, but advertising is just, with the technology, is changing so fast. So I think the biggest challenge is being on the forefront of where that change is happening and making sure that we're going to be developing that change.
Yeah, we talked about in the previous part one, we were talking with Alyssa and how important specifically she did branding and that process going into that, but you sort of take with the branding process and take that and run in some of what you do.
Yep.
And develop the full-fledged face of the company.
Yeah.
So what other things do you try to accomplish within your firm and within Dolo?
So branding is the foundation of everything. We're a marketing agency that really, we don't want to work on one-off projects. We want to work with clients that we believe that we have a positive thing together. We can help each other here. We believe in whatever their service or their product is, and they need a full service of marketing. So what we do is we'll create a foundation for them. The brand is the most important aspect, and that's the website too, their digital, storefront. So setting up that foundation, building a beautiful website, making sure it's, starting really with research and discovery. So sitting down and understanding who they are, what their goals are, what they want to accomplish, and then doing the research to understand who their target profile is, who their competitors are, what the market looks like, how they can reach their goals, and then taking this foundation and building the website and building that brand that reaches that audience and taking in their personality into it. I mean, that's the most important part, honestly, is their personality, who they are. I think the most important part of branding to me is being true to who you are, because if you start to change the brand to fit the target audience too much, you're just doing what everyone else is doing. You're diluting your message. It's about being who you are. So we really, the discovery part is really important. But so we build that foundation for them, and then we want to build that foundation for the future. So the whole point of what we do is integrated approach to marketing. So we want to be able to calculate the ROI for everything that we're doing. So we've built this website, we've built this brand. Now we want to create content for them. We want to manage their social media pages. We want to do pay-per-click campaign. I mean, it depends on the industry that we're talking about. We work in a lot of different industries, B2B and consumer, retail, e-commerce. So depending on the industry, let's say we're talking about e-commerce. We want to do a lot of a digital approach there. So we want to set up a social media channel. If it's a product, we want to set it up with their products, and you can, check out right there on Instagram or go straight to their e-commerce store. And the point is for conversions. Set up pay-per-click campaigns to, and the end goal is conversions. And each of these marketing tactics that we employ, newsletters, mailers, or whatever it may be, we want to be able to calculate the ROI for that. And so we're always looking at, hey, this is what you're spending with the marketing company, with us, and here's what you're getting back from each of our strategies. So that way we can say, okay, social media isn't having a good return. Why don't we pull back on using that as a conversion method? We can save some dollars there and just use that as a branding method, and then stick to conversion in the newsletter and pay-per-click campaigns, because we're seeing a lot of people purchasing from the newsletter. Or, maybe it's that it's just not working at all, and seeing, hey, it's been 3 months and we're not getting the dollars that we want back. Maybe this relationship isn't how, it's not working out. That actually hasn't happened before. But if that does happen, that's the point of calculating ROI.
I remember way back when I was going to college, thinking about what I was going to do. My father, who is an old accountant, said to me, the most important part of any business is marketing. And he's an accountant.
Wise man.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and so I ended up going and I got a double major in school, and one of them's in marketing, the other one's in accounting. But just the base definition of marketing is, getting your product to the user, or to the end user. So everything in between, going from the branding to the advertising to the digital media, it's all just part of that logistical approach. And if there's so much, especially in today's society, with the digital media and the tools that at your this exposure, marketing now is so far beyond what it was back in my day when I got my degree in marketing. And it's still very important, SWOT analysis and logistical approaches, but there's so much of a digital influence. I mean, just how many, there's just endless digital formats these days, from TV to Instagram to TikTok.
To TikTok.
Yeah.
And what I think that's done is what you're saying is, like, what marketing is getting your product to the consumer. And what this digital forefront has changed is made that marketing is a consumer-centric mentality, because we're able to see, like, in real time, consumers' responses. Consumers can control, like, a brand, destroy a brand even on social media. So, like, the consumer has become, like, the centric focus. So, like, when I think of marketing as an agency, my focus is first on filling the consumer's needs. So that's why I say, like, I only want to work with a client that I believe that they're going to fill a consumer need. So that way my job is easier. Like, our job is to match what the consumer, show the consumer what they need, what they're looking for, and make it easy for them to find and purchase. So that consumer first mentality, I think, with the digital platform has really brought it into that and has changed marketing in a different way.
Yeah. So we're about to take a break here, and when we come back, I want to talk about opportunities within this new threshold in the industry, and we'll talk about that when we get back.
This podcast is brought to you by Peridot Consulting and Marketing Outpost. Peridot Consulting offers a new paradigm in accounting services. We work with individuals and businesses toward prosperity and financial happiness. Please visit www.peridotconsultinginc.com for more information. Marketing Outpost provides strategies to solve problems and strategies to grow your business. Please visit www.marketingoutpost.com for more information.
So now we're back, and I have a question about you. We're from Houston. What would you say market-wise is different in your marketing practice in Asheville versus Houston?
That's a really good question. I'll say, first of all, that Asheville is just a different town in general from most places I've been. The mentality here is really, like, there isn't competition per se. Like, everyone really has this mentality to work together. Mm-hmm. And I really, really love that about this place. So I'll say the way that it's different from Houston or other bigger cities, even just like Atlanta down the way, in a marketing perspective, is the ability to connect with our audience in a much more positive and easier way. I mean, Asheville is a small town. Everyone kind of knows each other here almost. It's all about who you know, the reputation that you build. So in like something like Atlanta, it's got to be a lot more focused. Like in Atlanta or in Houston, like you need to have a niche and you need to know what your niche is. In Asheville, there's an opportunity for, at least for Dolo Digital's perspective, to be much more, we can work on our passions and we can, work in all these different industries because there's so many different industries here and there's so many people here, but they all kind of have this we're here close together mentality, and there's a need for marketing. There's a need for, this is a growing town. If I were in Houston or if I were in Atlanta, I would need to pick, hey, if I'm in Houston, I'm going to focus on oil companies or I'm going to focus on restaurants because like that's what's booming in Houston. But here, there's just a flood of different things to focus on because everyone here is really chasing their passions. I mean, I've worked, for a spa, a Japanese spa here. I've worked for, different real estate development properties. I've worked for e-commerce stores. I've worked for holistic medicines, different, just small retail shops, B2B. There's a lot of different manufacturers here that people don't even know about that are doing really big things. I mean, distributing internationally out of Asheville, North Carolina. So it's cool. There's a lot of opportunity here.
So I know this probably is an easy question here, but how would you say technology has affected the delivery of your services?
My favorite part of how it's delivered our services is that we can be, my goal for this company is to become international. I want to have clients all over the world. So like we've been able to have clients in Texas and in California already and in Chicago because we don't need to be there. We can just video chat, and all of our marketing efforts, like we can do advertising focused on that area digitally. If we need to do traditional advertising in that area, we can, but we don't necessarily need to be there to do that.
Yeah, that's a common theme. We ask that question a lot when we interview people in any specific industry. One common thing about technology is how it's really broadened the horizon as far as their target and their accessibility to people. I'm an accounting firm and I can have clients anywhere because of technology. Right? And it causes this new paradigm to be available. And I'm sure, like we alluded to it before, technology with you specifically has really changed the delivery. I mean, the cell phone probably, I'm going to guess here from my ignorant perspective, is probably the first and foremost center for marketing.
Yeah, that's where you want to get your message.
We don't use that. We don't like cell phones.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
You want it to come, I mean, when you build a website, or at least when we build a website, our first focus is mobile. Before even, desktop is going to look just as good, but like we're looking at mobile because that's where more than half of your audience is looking.
Yeah.
I mean, it shot past 50% back in, I want to say 2015 or 2016.
Wow.
So I don't even know where it is now, but it's getting up there. So yeah, I mean, it's the phones. And I want to say like the other aspect of technology that's really changed marketing is the analytics and the data that we have from these phones. How much you can understand about behavior is insane. The amount of data, it's creepy, honestly.
Yeah.
But it gets targeting to like, it's who knows where it's going to take it. It could get bad. It could turn into some kind of Black Mirror thing, or it could be really good and make it super easy for people to connect with the brands and the audiences that they want to connect with based on their behaviors. So, it's an interesting thing to be watching for, this technological development.
Yeah, the way these devices, not only the devices, but through the cell phones, but also I'll bring up a big search engine. I was listening to another podcast and they were talking about you've heard about CAPTCHA. If you're trying to buy something, you have to put in the CAPTCHA. Well, now there's like an even more advanced version of that, to where they know if you're real or not just by your behavior moving your mouse around on the screen.
Good, because I'm sick of clicking on buses.
Yeah.
And stop signs.
Well, I'll mention that in a second, but they just know that by your behavior leading up to that it is you. If it's off a little bit, then they're going to ask you a CAPTCHA, because that little thing alone is a new thing. Mm-hmm. But CAPTCHA is kind of an interesting thing. When you're entering stuff, it's like, what are these numbers at first and what are these things? That's dual purpose. One is to see if you're a real person to enter that in, but they're using that when they're scanning as a double service. So, for example, the New York Times hired CAPTCHA. They're scanning in all these old documents into their system to go paperless. And some of the scanners can't read certain things. So like a 1, 2, 3, for example. So they use real people through CAPTCHA to say that's a 1, 2, 3.
To train their
to train their
computers.
as to what that is. And also when it's like, is this a stop sign or a stoplight, or is there a car in this picture? That's helping Google Maps help identify things as well by saying, is there a car?
Wow,
so
that's interesting. I've not heard that.
Yeah, it's dual purpose.
We're slaves to the computers, aren't we?
Yeah, so I guess I'm alluding to this whole data analytics,
Yeah.
is that with all these devices, from the search engines to our cell phones, just there's a data overload. And taking that data and funneling it into a usable definition of something is sort of limitless. That's why if you're a kid out there, go into data analytics, because there's only going to be more and more data, and people that do data analytics are the ones that write those programs or figure out that funnel of information. We've got all this. How do I figure out, who's buying what product in Asheville with all this information? How do I funnel that information down into this?
Yep.
It's really abundant, and I don't want to use the term scary. I'd say it's more there's so much more of it than people are
Even
realizing.
understand. Yeah.
And that the end user marketing, we see it a lot with these big corporate marketing, or people are like, I was saying I wanted to buy a TV, and suddenly I get an ad for a TV on my phone. It's just marketing is one of the end users of all this data that you're alluding to, and using that data for those marketing purposes.
Well, I think what Travis was talking about earlier, the very first thing that he said, which I liked, was talking about how much marketing is psychology. Well, psychology is based on how we behave. And so at the end of the day, the best way to find out if you don't know, or to get better insight into how somebody behaves, is to look at the data, which tells us where do they click, when do they click, who is the user behind the click, all of that. And that's where that information is going. It sounds invasive. It sounds kind of creepy, because the technology has transformed in such a way that our access to that insight has become so much more personal. So for example, if you do have your voice thing on your phone, it actually can be listening. And if you talk about a certain product, all of a sudden you see ads for that product if you're on Facebook or you do a Google search. And that's because we didn't realize that when you have that on, it's actually on all the time. And so then it's simply pulling in what you're saying and then delivering that back to you. So on the one hand, that it looks creepy. On the second hand, marketers tend to look at it as, well, we're actually delivering something you're interested in, versus just throwing ads at you that maybe you never were interested in to begin with.
Right.
So a marketer looks at it like, well, at least now we can deliver very hyper-targeted, hyper-specific to you ads versus just random crap that we hope may be something that you would be interested in before. So there is a merger, I think, between AI, which is that artificial intelligence, like you were saying. They're using that to kind of refine their own computer systems at the New York Times, versus how we use that AI to better develop what we do in marketing and to deliver that content. As a marketer, we're kind of between both, right. Travis? We're between the consumer, whether that consumer is a business person or an individual, and we are also then representing the business. And we're trying to figure out, how do we deliver one to the other? And I think that's, kind of what you're talking about, John Michael. So I have a question. When you think about, we're kind of talking about it now, but where do you see your business and yourself, and I guess the future of marketing in the next 5 to 10 years?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to transition because that conversation could get really deep, and I have all of these just.
Where you go in there?
We could go down a wormhole.
Travis was like, "Wait a minute, I got something."
If you had a thought there,
go right ahead. We'd love for you to contribute.
Well, I think that from a marketing perspective, looking at it with, we're able to deliver these messages to people that are hyper targeted and are now beneficial instead of you just getting useless information, is the positive benefit that we need to stick to. But us having these conversations are super important, because from the consumer and professional's perspectives, it's super important to be aware of this technology and the places that it can go. I mean, just getting to a point where we can predict human behavior is kind of a scary Me and Gabe were actually talking about this the other day. Gabe, who's been a guest on here before, shout out Swinny.
Gabe is great. That's the hashtag.
What was the
Hashtag
episode?
Gabe is great.
Just so we can reference the episode. He was on
Emerging technology.
Emerging Technology.
Oh, well, that's
Season
relevant.
1.
That's relevant because we were just talking the other day about, just the idea of free will almost being in question once you can predict, 99.9% of human behavior, can it get to that 100 or is that 0.01, like that percent of free will that we have? But just the technology is getting to this point where like we have so much data on ourselves that we're going to get to a point pretty soon here where we can predict our behavior to a T, and how that's going to affect marketing. To your next question of where do you see marketing in the next 3 to 5 years, that's going to be one of those things that we need to be watching for, is how this technology develops, to our everyday lives and how it'll affect us.
Marketing is essentially predictive technology. And when you look at, I could go to any one of us here, we've been on the planet long enough and been using Google long enough, that if you were to pull a report from Google, it can probably tell you, how many kids you have, whether you have kids or not, but also at every time of the year, when you go on vacation, where you go on vacation, because you start researching hotels, you start booking rooms, you start looking at the restaurants in that area. So it can already tell you so much, and that is the predictive part. And how marketers use that, because we want to be able to predict how somebody's going to be in order to be able to throw that information out there in front of them that they might find useful. But where marketers have a responsibility is to ask for permission.
Yeah.
Or to allow the user to opt out. And I think that's where now we're going, where people realize that, hey, I might have thought it was great to be free on Facebook, but I didn't realize I was giving away also so much of my private life and information that now I want you to ask permission for it, or give me the opportunity to opt out of it. So
I think marketing's sort of been the face of, like, it's where people see the end result of this data analytics, but it's just when you get philosophical with it, is it's kind of like Minority Report a little bit. What you're alluding to earlier is, sure, the marketing side, Maury, to your point, it's where you see it, it's where you see the end result. They have to ask permission, and there's definite ethics behind it. And like you said, they're delivering products that you want anyways, and that's fine and dandy. There's a little bit of big brother corporate push behind it. But what is the data analytics doing that we don't know about?
Well, I think that is where Travis actually said that earlier, that the consumer is more empowered today than we used to be.
Definitely.
The consumer can drive what a company does and 100%. Has a say-so in the products, in their service, in their corporate culture even. If a group of consumers don't like your corporate culture, they can take you down. And I think you said that I think is a huge change in marketing versus the Mad Men stages.
Right, where they told you what to do.
Where they told you what to do, and all they did was use psychology in order to throw the ad at you. Well, now you can say, hey, as a group, we don't like that. And we don't like what you're assuming about us as a group. And so the consumer now, that's another thing that I think is an important trend, is the consumer has way more control over how a company delivers its services. And I think they have more control over how a company says who they are versus really what they are. And so I think you put all of that kind of in the first 5 minutes of this podcast, which is the psychology of marketing, but yet the consumer has so much more power than they used to have.
It's definitely changed the game a lot. It's a different animal nowadays.
One bad tweet or one apolitical or bad political Instagram post can bring down anybody.
But then the crowd can also control that, So you might want to say something negative about somebody online. Well, the crowd can come right back at you and say, hey, back up, back off, whatever. So I think it's very interesting now how much we've involved the consumer before, whereas I'm sure in your marketing you think constantly, how is this going to be received by the consumer? Is it in a positive way, in a bad way? Is there any potential pitfall here?
Well, and just that they're finally, their voice is heard. So like even before concepting. It's you're concepting to what you've heard from the consumers, like being able to digest what is said on, social listening and seeing how people are responding to maybe your competitors or to your own brand or to similar, complementary products or complementary services, seeing how consumers are talking about that, doing social listening and developing your services and your messaging based on how people are actually responding or how they're talking about your product or service. So like it's changed the all the way from the get-go, from concept. You're making it for a specific aspect that you've heard from the consumers. So yeah,
and I think companies are being forced to change. Facebook is being forced to change. Google is now recognizing more organic search and what the crowd out there really actually wants versus what a company might be willing to pay for. So I think I look at it in a positive light, but yet there are going to be always abusers of the information. Mm-hmm. There's going to be people who don't ask for permission and don't necessarily, think about the consumer.
Right.
Well, to bring this back to where do you think marketing for the industry is going to be in 5 to 10 years? Just from my perspective here, I just think it's going to, 5 to 10 years going to be even more data, more deliverable devices, more opportunities, more pop-up things like TikTok and other avenues of pushing and opportunities to get that message out. And niche marketing and target marketing will become even easier to uphold. And it's just getting that information and that data analytics will become more funneled and more streamlined to where even right now, bigger firms, or you have to purchase that data, but I think that data will become more and more available, I think, as the future goes on with this, and that the AI starts picking up on a lot. Mm-hmm. Do you see artificial intelligence potentially as a threat if it gets strong enough?
To the marketing industry?
Yeah.
No, I don't. There needs to be a human element to branding and to messaging always. I mean, that already, happens. There are bots in social media. There are, bots that develop messaging. There are automated, people can just generate logos or, buy stock photography or stock animations to promote their brand. And that's just going to get better and better. But I just don't think that'll ever be more successful than human element.
At the end of the day, if you're dealing with humans, you got to be a human to deal with humans.
Yeah. So no, I don't see it as a threat. As far as the Terminator goes,
who knows at that point. That or the Matrix.
Right. We're in the Matrix.
Well, the Matrix is because Terminator won.
Really?
That's what happened.
That's a good perspective.
Well, it's after the machines won is the Matrix.
And then John Wick is in the Matrix too.
Yeah.
So I want to answer the Dolo Digital 3 to 5 year question that got a little sidetracked because this stuff is too interesting. I see Dolo Digital in 3 to 5 years being a lot different than it is now. I mean, we got into this with big thinking, like I started telling you guys. I mean, we want to build something much bigger than we can even fathom. I mean, we want to take it as far as we can. There's a lot of different industries that we want to get in. Marketing has all these different roles, so we're already able to work in all these different industries and learn so much about a lot of things that we're interested in. So to take it into take branding into fashion, into music and into entertainment and video production. I mean, we do video production already, but just radio and taking it further and further is definitely where we see ourselves heading. But we are here in Asheville for the next 5 years at least, which I'm really excited about. And we always want to keep a home base in Asheville, but we want to keep growing and develop outward, get clients all around the world. That's the plan.
So my question has to do about advice. If you were to give, we have a lot of listeners on here that are at different stages of their business and different stages of experience and knowledge. What advice would you give to somebody about digital media marketing and what you do?
Sure.
It's like a 101.
Well, if I'm talking to entrepreneurs, I mean, first off, if we're talking about marketing in general, understanding where marketing is going, understanding marketing is extremely important to business owners, and I don't see it enough. And that's something that we've really dedicated a lot of time to.
The value?
Well, not just the value. Yes, the value, because I do think, and back to your question about common misconceptions, I think a lot of people don't see the value in marketing because they don't want to spend the money. but they don't see that there is a very easy way with technology today to calculate your ROI from what you're spending. You can do it yourself. But I think that a lot of people don't understand where marketing is going. A lot of people need to understand search engine optimization. It's so important. Most businesses, your clients are finding you from Google. Most industries. Understanding SEO and how you can, because if most people aren't doing it, if you can do some research and figure out how to do it yourself, you should, and most people can. Managing social media yourself, or finding ways to do it cost effectively through a freelancer if you're going to hire, internally, or if you can learn to do it yourself. But, understanding how to use social media and how to optimize it appropriately to get the best results is something that, people can do some more research on to figure out. So, my advice would just be, we built a website called the Marketing Education Portal that's really based for locals here in Asheville, but anyone can use it. That teaches small businesses how to do some of this marketing stuff and what is important in marketing.
So mention that again. I think people would find that helpful.
Yeah, it's called the Marketing Education Portal, and the website is mep.dolodigital.com, but it is down right now. We're going to be putting it back up probably like first week of November because we are restructuring it to be a little bit more course-based, so it's a little more educational. But, there's a lot of resources out there. This is one that we've, spent hours and hours and hours collecting together to make it easier, but understanding how to do marketing yourself or what you need to be doing, even if you're going to hire a freelancer, knowing what they're doing and so that you can manage it better. You need to understand where marketing is going and what things that you can be doing as a business owner to better your business.
What would you be if you were talking to a junior in college getting his marketing degree, his or her marketing degree? What would you say to them about the reality of working in the industry?
That's a great question, and I love that because I'm seeing a lot of people coming up into marketing and not knowing what the skill sets are. And I see that issue a lot. And so I go on Reddit and I go on to a lot of these college forums and I try to answer those questions online as much as I can because I see a big need for that answer. So I appreciate that question. Really good skill sets to have. If I could go back to college and do these things over, this is what I would do too. Develop what marketing needs. Develop design skills, first of all. Know Adobe Suite. Know how design. You don't need to be a designer. You need to know how design works though. Understand, like I said, for small business owners, understand how social media works. Just create a profile while you're in college and try to grow its follower base while you're in college. I happened to do that just for fun. I wasn't even into social media or anything, but I just have a super cute dog. So I created a dog profile, and I'm serious. Just in 2 years of doing that through college, I learned so much about Instagram and Facebook that I couldn't have known any other way other than doing it myself and having a little bit of a passion for it. So developing these design skills, learning SEO and how you and learning some web development capabilities, knowing how to set up a WordPress website. You don't need to understand Java and HTML and all of these web languages in order to know how to put up a website. Start with Squarespace or start with Weebly, build Wix, build some websites, get into WordPress, develop that skill set while you're in college, because these are super valuable skills getting into the marketing industry. Is knowing web design, knowing design, graphic design, knowing some basic photography stuff. Get Adobe Suite, get familiar with photo editing and video editing. You don't need to have a super nice camera to do it. It's on your iPhone. Anyone can do these things nowadays. Save up for a good computer that has the capabilities to house these programs. You can get these programs usually through your university if you're in college. Take advantage of the resources and learn these things, because these are super valuable skill sets. I see people coming in and applying for design positions and they don't know how to do everything in design that they should know how to do. And also one more thing, design your resumes, please. I get a lot of resumes of people who just fill them out on a Word doc or fill them out with Indeed. Design your resume, especially if you're applying for marketing or design position.
Yeah. I can see potentially, if you're in marketing, getting a minor or even a second major in some kind of computer graphics or something that you're alluding to, because we've alluded to this whole conversation, the digital world is so connected to marketing right now. Mm-hmm. And that's to your point.
And college isn't going to teach you everything at all. You can't expect college to teach you it, because they're not. They're going to teach you how marketing industry terms or basic design stuff, but all that stuff you need to be doing on the side on your own.
Mm-hmm. Would you have anything to add to that?
No,
Mari?
I thought that was great advice.
Yeah.
Very on point.
So any local clients that you're excited about and what you're doing here locally? I know you guys are have actually impressively grown for just being around for a year. You've got a pretty good client repertoire. Any local clients you're excited about that you'd want to share?
We worked really hard in the first year to, like I said, it wasn't about just getting clients and flipping services or flipping what we do. It wasn't about hustling. It was the hustle, but it's about doing good work for people that and businesses that we believe that we can do good things for. I'll say a lot of it was right place, right time, but one of our first clients that we were able to get in the beginning was Grove Arcade, and that's one that I would love I want to talk about more and more because I'm so excited about where that project is headed, because the Grove Arcade is a building in downtown Asheville that is like a staple for what Asheville is and can be. And it has just sat on the wayside for some time. It's just been kind of comfortable, and the businesses have just kind of done their own thing and not really worked as a collective, and people in Asheville just kind of wrote it off as like this building. They don't really even recommend people going there, and there's all these online reviews of people loving the place but not getting excited about it, loving what it could be, but it's just not gotten there. So finally the building was purchased about a year and a half ago, and the new owners are really passionate about this project. They've even moved their offices into the building. They have a lot of other projects here in town, but they take a lot of pride in Grove Arcade, and we take a lot of pride in Grove Arcade. We're doing everything we can there as far as bringing the experience up to speed on the ground and the brand and building the brand. So I want Asheville to be proud of that building and to know that it's being taken care of and that it's coming up. Like, there's a lot of things happening there, and they're working hard to make it a local haven and people that locals can go hang out and be proud of. And yeah, so I'm really excited about where Grove Arcade's going. And we have a lot of other local clients I'm excited about too, but I won't get too much into it. You can see that on our website, or we're actually working on a podcast. And like I said, Asheville doesn't compete. We'll do a lot of collaborative stuff. Nobody in Asheville competes on anything, and I love that so much. So we'll be in here doing podcasts together, but we're really excited about working on our own podcast that'll be focused on marketing and Asheville and industry.
And do you know the name of that podcast yet?
Nope. It's still in the works. We've got our mics and we've got all the equipment we need, and we're kind of just getting topics down and picking guests and stuff still. We're thinking of mid-October delivery date. I think National Podcast Day is sometime in mid or late October. I don't know, an intern told me that, so we'll see.
Yeah, run with it. Yeah, and back on the Grove Arcade. The Grove Arcade is just a gorgeous building. It's
beautiful.
For those that are not from Asheville listening to this, it was built in the early 20s, and it's just one of the more beautiful buildings in downtown Asheville. Asheville's known for its architecture. It's a big New York influence. In the 20s, it was a boom town. We had the first skyscraper in North Carolina, and Grove Arcade is considered one of the best buildings in town. And it's kind of got I guess for lack of a better description, kind of like a mall set up in the bottom, a lot of retail space with a beautiful interior. And how many retail spaces are in there? Do you know off the top of your head?
There's 34-ish
retail spaces.
I was actually there yesterday going to every single one of them to deliver a letter, and I printed 34 letters, but I didn't deliver 2 of them because, I don't know, I think there's 34, but there's a couple available spaces right now and a couple new tenants coming in. So it's kind of changing, but I think there's actually 35 spaces there. Okay. And I think there's 32 tenants right now, I want to say.
All right.
Off the top of my head.
So 32 to 35 retail, and it's got some condos.
Six restaurants, and I think there's 42 living spaces.
Yeah.
So a lot of housing upstairs too. Really beautiful places to live. There's 3 vacancies right now, I want to say, in the living quarters. So it's a nice place to live, good place to hang out. Free Wi-Fi in there. We got Wi-Fi in there finally. And there's some other exciting stuff happening coming up. So yeah, we're really excited about that space.
Yeah. In my younger years, I lived in a place like that where it was retail on the bottom, and my apartment was upstairs.
What was your experience like? What was that like?
Well, I really enjoyed being able to get drunk at this little bar that was downstairs and not really worrying about anything because I literally could just take the elevator upstairs.
Yeah. Kept you from having to buy liquor. You could just go downstairs.
Well, I wasn't driving, and it was great because all my friends, since it was in the middle of a town, all my friends would congregate there, and we'd have a great time, but I didn't have to worry about anything because I would just take the elevator upstairs.
Right.
And I was single, and it was fabulous. And so if you're living a single life, or even if you're a couple but you don't have kids, I think that if you have kids, that's difficult because living in an upstairs like that, there's not like an outdoor area.
Yeah.
But if you don't want to have to worry about landscaping and,
Right.
mowing your lawn, and you just really want to take part in a town culture, it's the perfect way to live.
That's a good point. It really is like living within Asheville culture.
Yeah, you get it nonstop. You can get up in the morning, go have breakfast at your favorite spot, end the day at your favorite bar, and you pretty much know everybody. So, Travis, give us a little bit of information of how people can reach you, and we'll close up our segment.
This camera. Tell the people what you have going on in your life.
Yeah.
That's Hot Ones. I'm sorry. I'm quoting super popular show on YouTube right now. They just had Shia LaBeouf yesterday. It was a good episode.
This one, that one, this one.
Yeah. Tell the people what you have going on in your life. So dolodigital.com. Come see our website. Come look at our work. All of our portfolio stuff is up there.
Say your name again.
My name is Travis LeJune. I live here in Asheville, North Carolina. I'm out with my partners Josh Dawson and Ryan Laffler at Dolo. We've got a super awesome team. Keith Krebs, who designed Wicked Weed's logo back in the day and has done a lot of awesome work in Asheville as far as illustration and design. He's actually painting a mural in our office right now of our human resource department manager, Jimi Hendrix, who is our beautiful dog, Chocolate Lab, in a spacesuit helmet. Our theme is very spacey, as you'll see on our website. Kelsey Jones, who is awesome film and media post-production working for us. She's worked for Netflix and BuzzFeed and MGM Studios out in LA. So she's got a lot of great experience and she's doing a great job working for us. We love Kelsey. And Gabe Swinney, photography with us. We've talked about Gabe already. He's an awesome dude. He's working with us. Adam Rosen doing some copywriting. My boy Liam at the intern position. Tori, who just left us, unfortunately, but she was an amazing intern. She went back to Houston. But yeah, we've got an awesome team that we've surrounded ourselves with. We're in Biltmore Village, 105 Fairview Road, holding it down, Asheville, North Carolina. That's all I got.
Yeah, that's good. I think you covered it. And Dolo is D-O-L-O.
Dolo. Yeah, Dolo, I'll say real quickly before we get off. Dolo is a term that has been in hip-hop for like the last 20, 30 years. It's kind of a street term that means doing it on your own, kind of like hustle or grind on doing it yourself. So... And, when me and Josh started, it was the two of us. And we kind of felt like solo is one, Dolo is the two of us, doing it on our own. So that's kind of where the name came from. And we just like the ring to it, too.
Yeah.
And we actually finally yesterday got Dolo Digital on Instagram. Someone had that for the last 2 years. I haven't been able to get it. But yesterday, a couple of days ago, I filed an infringement to Instagram, a trademark infringement. And they emailed me 2 days later and said, we switched your name over. You got it.
Wow.
I was like, hey, we all texted last night and we're celebrating.
Wow.
Via iPhone iMessage.
Wow. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Excited.
Well,
thank
you guys for having us.
Yeah,
that was some good marketing conversation right there.
Yeah, very good. Thanks for coming, and thanks to the listeners for joining us today. Please be sure to review this episode, and for more information on who we are or this podcast, please visit www.bammit.com. That's BAMM-IT.com. And our next very interesting podcast is going to be about obscure tax strategies and opportunities.
Obscure?
Obscure. It's like not known.
Okay.
That's a term.
Obscure.
Obscure.
You said obscure, which sounded like two parts of the same word.
Obscure.
You mean obscure,
tax
but
evasion.
Not obstruct.
Not
obscure.
evasion. There's no evasion going on.
I'm just joking.
There's no evading of anything.
No.
Okay, thank you.
The hosts and the guests of this podcast make no warranty, guarantee, or representation as to the accuracy or sufficiency of the information featured in this podcast. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. This podcast should not be considered professional advice and is for entertainment purposes. It is not guaranteed that you will find this as entertaining as the hosts find themselves.